Saint Gary Lineker is back. The millionaire socialist and Britain's first black footballer has been tackling the issue of Thames Water, who face bankruptcy. Gary has tweeted to his almost 9 million followers on Twitter, "Renationalise water, simple." Well, it's always simple when it's someone else's money, isn't it? Just like someone else will have to deal with the consequences of illegal immigration, to which Gary doesn't seem to object as he luxuriates in his London mansion. Lineker has also tweeted criticism this week of the Rwanda policy, even though it is the express wish of a majority of the British people to stop the boats. But this is how it works with the media, corporate and political elite, of which Saint Gary Lineker is their darling. Lineker was a great footballer and is an excellent TV presenter, no problem. But it's so easy for wealthy virtue signallers to go on Twitter and make themselves look like lovely people by offering simple solutions which won't affect them to the complex problems of the world. His glib tweet about the water industry probably fired off as he waited for another Negroni at the Groucho Club or Soho House is typical of the kind of crowd-pleasing nonsense his ilk spew every day. The truth is the water industry needs to be looked at. But how is nationalisation the answer, given the fact that Britain itself is approaching bankruptcy? The cost of state ownership could be in excess of £20 billion to the taxpayer, plus endless liabilities going forward, money this country hasn't got. Is Saint Gary going to pay that bill? Given he's so keen to put his name to this policy, I doubt it. Thanks to his own recent legal action against HMRC, which saw him reduce his tax bill by a cool £4.9 million, the Treasury now have even less money to play around with. This kind of activism from a man whose £1.6 million salary comes from a compulsory tax allows Lineker to boost his brand as an officially lovely person, whilst real Brits pay the price. In the case of water nationalisation, this would happen to the public via higher taxes and potentially even higher water bills. God knows it hasn't been perfect, but since privatisation in 1989, around £200 billion has been invested in the water industry in England. Leakage is down by a third since the mid-90s and is due to be cut by at least 16% by 2025 and by 50% by 2050. Water companies have spent around £25 billion on the environment since 1995, with 10,000 miles of rivers being protected and improved since then. Environmental work since privatisation has resulted in wildlife returning to rivers that had been biologically dead since the Industrial Revolution. There is no way the government could afford or will ever be able to afford that kind of investment. But why let a few facts get in the way of a rabble-rousing tweet? Lineker and his woke mates have been very clever by adopting a position which characterises them as the nice people. But there's nothing particularly nice about flogging junk food to kids, for which Saint Gary Lineker gets paid handsomely. And all this talk of nationalisation is deeply troubling. Whether it's the push for a universal basic income, literally paying people to sit at home on their fat arses doing nothing, whether it's inflation-busting pay rises across the public sector, more borrowed billions for bloated public services, or the state buying up public utilities, when did socialism suddenly win the argument? Well, it hasn't won the argument, and it never will, because the government acting as entrepreneur has never worked, and the economic collectivism of which Lineker seems such a fan will finish off this country once and for all. Life has taught me one thing: whatever the problem, the state is not the answer. This nationalisation, this idea of buying up water, the whole idea is insane. I couldn't disagree with it more strongly. Waterload of nonsense from Lineker. The face of Walkers has had his chips.